Hey everyone, Rick here from Hamilton Sports Central. Normally, the last few days we've been doing football content because we just had the draft the other day. But I decided to change things up and I brought, as I've heard out on the streets, the GOAT of Bridgeport, as I call the beat writer, Kenny Kamensky, to come on and help us understand more of Bridgeport as the team's going to be joining us come into the city in the fall. So Kenny, I know it was quite the introduction, but how's it going?
Yeah, you pumped my tires pretty well there. I like that. I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to do it. I know we were trying to collab on something for a while, so I'm glad that I finally have the time to do this, and I'm excited to inform the people of Hamilton of what a great team they're about to have.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, how do I put this in a kind way? It sucks that Bridgeport is losing a team because with what I've seen on just me online from one country to another, the community of Bridgeport, that I assume that Bridgeport's a very small city.
Yeah, it is.
So for those that, how do I put this in a polite way? So if you have ever watched Friday Night Lights, where the city shuts down everything, and they go to the football field on a Friday night, that's almost what I picture Bridgeport, where it's like everyone shuts down, the whole small community goes and watches them. Because I read somewhere that you said that the whole community is a nice, tight knit community
Oh
from
yeah,
what I've seen, or
absolutely.
from what I've read.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And these people are gamers. They're there, 36 games out of the year. They don't miss. They're there every night. And unfortunately, there isn't a ton of them. That's usually how it is in the American Hockey League, but they're so passionate and some of the best people that you'll ever meet. So it's tough to see them lose their team. But yeah, unbelievably passionate fan base for sure.
So what I wanted to do is I'm just gonna share the screen here. So this, oh, I forgot to add it to me. So this is where they are now in the Atlantic Division. However, they're going to be going from the Atlantic to the North Division, which I call it the Canadian Division, but with a few American teams. So joining us, or when I say us, I'm talking about the Bridgeport team. We have Laval Rocket, which is the Montreal Canadiens farm team. I don't know if you know, Kenny, but there's a lot of history between Hamilton and Laval because Hamilton's old farm team is Laval.
Interesting.
So before Hamilton's farm team, I think they moved in 2014. They went to St. John's, and then from St. John's, they went to Laval. So you can know that there's going to be some type of rivalry between those two teams. Then you have Syracuse Crunch, who is the Tampa Bay Lightning farm team. You have Cleveland Monsters, which is Columbus. The Pesty, yes, you heard that correctly. I said the Pesty Toronto Marlies, which is the Toronto Maple Leafs farm team. For those in Bridgeport that do watch this video that don't know, every sport that Hamilton and Toronto have, it is an arch rival. So think of Islanders and Rangers, Toronto and Montreal, Boston and Montreal. Trying to think of other ones that are out there. Like, they hate each other with a passion. We have Rochester Americans, which is the Buffalo farm team, Utica Comets, which is New Jersey's, and Belleville Senators, which is the Ottawa's farm team. Not only is Bridgeport moving from the Atlantic to the North Division, but the North Division would also gain an extra playoff spot for next year. So instead of it having all of these teams, how did they do it this year? Because they had 6. They'd have one more. So they'd probably have 4 teams here and 2 teams here. That's how I remember it being over on this side. So it's going to be interesting. I don't know about you, but usually when Toronto and Rochester usually come to town, um, they have, usually we get like 6 to 7, 8, 9, 10,000 fans type thing. So it's going to be a lot of revenue for Bridgeport to come in. But we do have our first question for you, Kenny. The question is, what prospects should we be excited about coming from Bridgeport to Hamilton?
Well, I think the biggest question first is who's going to be there. I know Victor Eklund was here in Bridgeport for the final few games. I doubt he's going to be here next season. Same with Isaiah George. Cole Eiserman, definitely one to watch out for. I know he's kind of a dark horse candidate to make the New York Islanders next year, but I think he might need a little bit more time in the AHL. He was a first-round pick just a year ago, so he's definitely one to watch. Danil Prokhorov is another one. He's 18 years old right now, 6'6". If you watch the game against Hershey, went down, block a shot. Unfortunately, had to leave the ice and didn't return. So I've been told that it's just a bruise. He's going to be fine. He'll be ready for development camp this season. Another one would be Kayshawn Aitchison, who I'm sure a lot of people in Ontario know about since he's having a pretty great season. Oh, yeah, Cash Aitchison. He knows how to throw an open ice hit, so that'll be a player that you definitely need to watch when you're on the ice or if you're in the arena. Definitely watch out for him because he's headhunting for sure. Or not headhunting, but he lays clean hits. But he's definitely somebody who I was excited maybe Bridgeport could get, but his team's been so freaking good that he didn't have the opportunity to come to Bridgeport. But those are a few players that I'm definitely looking out for in Hamilton next year.
So the interesting thing that I'm not sure if you noticed, but the Islanders, I think it's Harry Howell Arena. I was hoping that it would come up as a picture. The New York Islanders are investing a ton of money into the Harry Howell Arena because outside of the practicing at the actual TD Coliseum, they're actually why doesn't this want to work? They actually are investing money into turning Harry Howell Arena in Flamborough into an actual practice facility. And from the people that I spoke with the other day, this isn't like a lot of people are going to be like, that I spoke to online, they're like, oh, this is only going to be like a year or two project. From the people that I spoke with when I had my meeting with the team yesterday, they're looking at like 4 or 5 years down the road. Like this isn't just one quick, pit stop where you're here for a year or two and then we're moving on. So what I wanted to ask you was, and of course I went and closed the link, is I heard from another beat writer. I'm not going to say his last name because I know I'm going to butcher it, but is it Stefan
Rosner?
Yes, Stefan Rosner. He had reported earlier this afternoon that Hogberg was going back to the Swedish Hockey League. So Hogberg won't be back next year. So obviously RFAs, there's going to be some that, that they're going to be bringing back and given the contracts and whatnot. But would you know of is there any players that you could see that won't be back?
Yeah, honestly, I think that there's when you get further on in the season, it's easier to see who's going to come back and who isn't just by who's going to play and who isn't. The NHL time to like bolster your team is the trade deadline, but in the AHL, the time to bolster your team is after the college season ends, after the SHL season ends. That's where you see a lot of those top players end up coming over and making your team better. And unfortunately, we saw a lot of players sit in the stands and sit in the press box while that was happening. So I got to assume that there might not be a place for some of these guys. I know a lot of people have seen Matt Maggio, and he was scratched for 9 games straight after playing in every single game. I wonder, how they value him and if he's going to come back. Um, Another one is Joey Larson, another one who was not there for the playoffs. He was sitting in the press box. He's an older guy. They signed him as an undrafted free agent after he played 4 years. So, I think it's just as they continue to get players in here, especially younger guys like Kayshawn Aitchison and Danil Prokhorov. I think it's gonna, they're gonna have to bump out some players who are a little bit older, especially ones that are RFA'd. So I would assume that a lot of the RFAs would be coming back, but there's definitely a few players that I could see not getting qualified. But I still think that they will get a contract offer somewhere, just might not be here.
If I obviously me and you don't get paid the big bucks to make the decisions, but if I had to decide who was coming back, Adam Beckman would be one. And I would bring Matt Luff back because there's a lot of history with Matt Luff. For those that don't know, Matt Luff played his OHL career in Hamilton when we were the OHL Bulldogs. So I'm hoping that Matt Luff gets signed this offseason. If he doesn't, I think they only gave up like minor league players for him when they traded for him. So it's not like it's a big big loss if we don't get him, but we always hope that that we can bring him back, and because Beckman would be good experience and leadership for the younger players coming in. But something that I noticed during the playoffs, was there a reason why there was no captain?
Bridgeport doesn't have a captain this season, so they have 2 assistants, and that's Chris Terry and Matt Highmore. So they both kind of, assume that role, I guess. It's just Rocky's first year. He didn't decide to have a captain. I got to assume a year in, he's going to have a captain next year. And I also wanted to say, I spoke with Matt Luff as soon as he got traded to Bridgeport. It seemed like Matt Darsh was pretty adamant about getting him. He said it was a few-week process, and so they really like Matt Luff, and I'm sure I got the impression, I don't want to speak for Luff, but I think he's a player that would want to return here to Hamilton and to have that, maybe play for the New York Islanders. So that's just the impression I got from him. But I could tell you that the Islanders wanted Luff for a while. So
out of when you first answered the question about Victor Eklund, Callum, Richie, and that, if there was out of the roster that we had seen this year, you would say those two are probably ones that have a greater chance to make the Islanders next year.
I would say Cal Ritchie, there's no chance he comes to Bridgeport. He was only in Bridgeport for the playoffs since the New York Islanders didn't make the playoffs. I've been saying it for a while with Eklund. I didn't think that he was an AHL caliber player. I mean, he came in and was absolutely unbelievable, and it's a really funny story. His first game, he was unbelievable. He got 4 hours of sleep. He came over after playing in the SHL season. He just, got into Bridgeport late. Like I said, 4 hours of sleep, went to practice, I think went home, had a nap, ate something, and then came back to the arena, played a full game, and then went into overtime. And he was playing in overtime, ripped one off the post, came back, made a huge defensive play as well. And then in a shootout, ended up scoring the shootout winner. And I was talking to him post game, and I was, and he said to me, he was just like, that wasn't my best game. I'm really tired right now. And I kind of laughed it off, like, oh, he's just being humble. But that's just how good he is. Like, even when he has 4 hours of sleep, he is one of the best players on the ice. So I doubt that he will be in Hamilton next year. Unfortunately for you guys, I think Eklund is a shoo-in for the NHL roster.
So there's another question here. It says, generally, how have the Islanders treated Bridgeport when it comes to winning versus developing the young guns?
I could say for a while. I'm not there, so I don't know. I'm not in the room with what the decision makers are saying, but I could tell you that the 2 years prior to this season, there was nothing going on. There was no winning. Nobody was developing. and that's obviously a huge problem. But I think this year it's both. I think you have to do both. You have to win, and you have to show the young players what it means to be a pro, and how to win in this league, especially being a professional hockey player. And that's going to pay a huge dividends when you make it to the NHL, and that's what's expected. You're expected to win. So I think winning is huge for the development part, but I think everybody on the roster this year took a step forward in developing. So I think that's another big thing for people in Hamilton. Like, you guys are getting a team that wants to win and has learned how to be competitive and doesn't, take themselves out of games, and the players are getting better. And the players you're going to hopefully see in the NHL, because both things happened this season, I would say. So
this other question is, how do you see the change with the CHL AHL eligibility affecting the AHL in general? So those that don't know, there was a rule that came into I don't know if it's came into effect yet, but it's going to be for next season. Where if you were drafted in the first round and you're 19, you can be sent down to the AHL. So do you think, like, I wouldn't say just Bridgeport, but do you think like many farm teams are going to be using this to speed up their first round draft picks development?
I love this rule. I know this is kind of a situation, or what I'm going to say, it wouldn't have worked anyways because he was a second rounder. But I look at a player like Matt Poitras in Boston, where his first season he was just so good in preseason. He was so good throughout the first 10 games that the Bruins just couldn't send him back. They could not put him back in juniors. He was just that good. And then, his body started, taking some wear and tear throughout the year. And then he got injured. And then they were like, okay, well, instead of playing in the NHL, we can't send you back to juniors. And, you're kind of struggling right now. So they sent him to the World Juniors. And I think that is a great situation for a guy like him. I know he's selected in the second round, so that wouldn't have necessarily worked. But I think having players come over, test the waters in the NHL, and then have that option to be in the American Hockey League is going to be great. And as somebody who covers the American Hockey League, I'm looking forward to it. So
we all know that Danny Nelson won't be joining us next season because he's going back to university. But I do see that they did sign Quinn Finley this near the end of the season. Where do you see Quinn Finley in the lineup like this upcoming season?
I think
with what you know and with what you've seen anyways.
I think he's going to be probably a top sixer on this team. It's a little tough because how Rocky did it this year was, he had the lines out, and then whatever line played the best got the most minutes. So it wasn't necessarily a 1 through 4 line. I know a lot of people saw Cole Eiserman on the fourth line, and I know a lot of people saw Victor Eklund on the third line, and they're like, well, he had this amount of points and this amount of points. Why are they getting demoted? And it's not necessarily about being demoted. It's just about finding that right fit. So I'm sure they're going to make it a point to find the right fit for Quinn Finley, but he's absolutely going to play in the AHL. He was supposed to come to Bridgeport, ended up having some injury where they just told him, recover, and we'll see you at Dev Camp. And I think he's going to be prepared for that. So, but Quinn Finley is going to be a great player. He showed that he can handle pro competition when he went to the Spangler Cup and suited up for USA and was second in points behind Aiden Fink. So, I'm sure you guys in Hamilton are absolutely going to love him, and he's a heck of a hockey player. So you guys are going to enjoy it for sure.
So this is now, for those that don't know, this is really going to show my age. But when I started to follow the NHL hard in 2000, that's when it was either 2000 or 2001 when Chris Lumarillo was named the Bridgeport Islander or Bridgeport Sound Tigers GM, and he's been there this whole entire time. With Hamilton, with the team moving to Hamilton and having not really a new team, but still have the Bridgeport history, do you see them keeping him, or do you see them bringing in someone else as a GM?
I mean, it's tough. I think the AHL GM role doesn't do as much as people think. It's not like the NHL GM of the AHL. From the players that I've talked to, their first call is to Darsh. So Darsh really has more of the stuff. He does more of the cooking in the American Hockey League and everything like that. So um, that actually makes it harder because if an NHL GM isn't performing for years and years and years, you could be like, yeah, okay, he's going to get fired. But the AHL GM, it's not necessarily all on them if the team isn't performing well. Um, I have no idea. I would assume that maybe Darsh would want to keep it the same, especially with this season. But obviously, there was a lot that Darsh had to take on once he came in last year, especially after the season, getting that first pick and everything like that. So maybe he wants to bring in one of his guys. At this point, I honestly have no idea, but I could probably see him going to Hamilton. I just wouldn't be 100% on it.
So I actually am curious to wonder how this works. If you're the GM of the AHL team, you obviously sign players to AHL contracts. Do you depend on the NHL scouting department of your parent club for scouting reports on those players?
Yeah, I'm sure that they have their amateur scouts are out scouting players all the time. I have to imagine that their scouting department was at a lot of Springfield games trying to see what Matt Luff was doing and all that. Um, they have scouts everywhere, so I'm sure that played a role in a lot of the signings that they had, especially Sean Day. I know that was a Darsh guy. Um, so yeah, definitely. I think the amateur scouting, or I mean, the pro scouting side definitely has a say, and they use those scouting reports for players that they're looking to sign for next season.
So going back to a bit of the division, because again, I'm not from the state, so I'm just going to assume that the whole Atlantic Division, you could drive to the whole Atlantic Division. No.
I mean, you can. It's a little difficult. Hershey, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, those are like 3 or 4 hours away. Charlotte is like, I don't know, I think 7 or 8 hours away. It's a
Oh,
pain.
okay. So it's not like drivable. Okay. So for those that don't know, I actually did the math. So with the Atlantic Division, the closest team, depending on transportation. Now, when I say that, I'm talking about traffic, like highway traffic. You can get to Toronto if you go by train from, say, Hamilton to Toronto. You could probably get there in about 40 minutes to an hour. If you drive, sometimes it can be an hour and a half. Hamilton to Rochester is about 2.5 hours, or 2 hours and 20 minutes. Hamilton to Belleville is 2.5. Hamilton to Syracuse. Now, again, I'm just talking the city. I'm not talking rink to rink. Syracuse is about 3.5 hours. Utica is 4 hours and 7 minutes. Hamilton to Cleveland is 4 hours and 9 minutes. And Hamilton to Laval is 5 hours and 57 minutes. So it's less flying. You can take a coach. You could take a coach bus if you're the team. Because I just learned about this the other day, thanks to Kenny, because Kenny had to explain this to me. Because now this is post. I mean, I wish they went back to pre-COVID where they went all around the league to play all the different teams. But unfortunately, we don't have those benefits like we did before. So post-COVID, the league went from 82 to 72 games. And then of the 72, you play 60 against your division. So it really makes those division rivals that much more. And there was a time where I forget who it was. You guys seen like Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins like 4 or 5 times in a month. Like it was something ridiculous. It's like, why don't you let the teams breathe and play another team in the division or something like that? But yeah, that's where it's going to. Like myself, I'll be going to all the Toronto games. I'll probably go to a few Belleville games. I know I'll go to at least one Laval game. I'll probably go to some of the American games. I haven't decided which ones yet. So for those that are thinking about getting season tickets, so I talked to the executive yesterday. So I'm not sure how it was with Bridgeport, but I got some more information today. So for the Hamilton season ticket packages, I'm going to show this on the screen. I don't know if I'm supposed to or not, but I am anyways. Nope, wrong one. Wrong one. Told that they're going to be going on sale around June. So I would say keep your eyes open for when they go on sale, so that you can get a hold of the ticket staff. As far as the name goes, it's down. I would, without giving out too much information, because I know when people are told inside information, they can't go into much details. But I can say that it's down to 2 out of the 3 names. So the 3 names are Havoc, Mustang, and I'm not sure if it's Hammer or Hammers. But what I'm curious to see is if they're actually going with Islander colors, or if they're going with something completely different. Do you see any changes coming to the coaching staff?
I don't. As of right now, I don't think any of the coaches will be fired. That's the first thing. Maybe they find a better opportunity. I know Coach Chad Kolaric was one that was brought in this season. This is his first year as an AHL assistant coach. He was coming from juniors, coaching the national team development program. He coached a lot of the New York Islanders prospects who were at the national team development program. So I spoke with Cole Eiserman. He said that was huge for him, that he had a coach on staff that he knew, that he trusted. So he felt more comfortable coming to Bridgeport right after his season, opposed to staying at BU and not turning pro for another year. David Cuniff is another coach that I don't know if he's going to have a better offer. I know that there's going to be a lot of shakeup in the coaching realm for the AHL this year. He's a coach that's been around for 25 years, being an AHL assistant and ECHL head coach / GM, because that's what they do in the ECHL. The head coach is also the GM. So I would imagine that he probably has some pretty good offers coming his way. He's highly spoken about by the players. He played a huge part in guys like Marshall Warren, Isaiah George, and Travis Mitchell, Cole McWard, all those guys being NHL ready to go up and play NHL minutes for the New York Islanders. So yeah, I mean, Rocky gets a lot of shine and he absolutely deserves it, but they have a fantastic staff that are all on the same page about everything. So I would say if I had to pick a coach that could leave, I would say Cuniff, but that's not guaranteed. So I guess we'll have to wait and see.
So when I was at the Rochester Toronto game 3, I was talking with some Rochester fans, and they were telling me that they were, again, I don't know if the schedule is already done or whatnot, but their ticket staff have been telling them that their home opener or their first game of the season is October 2nd. So I'm assuming that the schedule is going to be moved up a week. But from what I've seen, it's usually out first or second week of July, if I'm not mistaken. So do keep your eyes out for the schedule, and then you can start, planning those amazing trips to watch your team on the road. Another player that I seen do well, I don't know if he is ready for the NHL or not, is Isaiah George. Do you see him being like a 5-6 defenseman in the NHL, or do you see him back in Hamilton?
I thought he was NHL ready this season, and unfortunately it took a while for them to call George up just because he got injured twice. So it really felt like as soon as they were looking for somebody, Isaiah George the very next game got hurt. He definitely has NHL qualities. His defensive game is absolutely NHL ready. He doesn't produce a ton of offense, but his defense is one where you can throw him out there in any situation and he'll do a great job. Another thing that Coach Cuniff and Rocky do an excellent job of is the stick and body positioning. He's a very tough player to get inside on. He's a tough player to make passes through. He's a smothering type guy. He plays the wall very well. He's just a difficult player to play against, and I absolutely think he's ready for the NHL. So I don't know if he's going to be in Hamilton next year. He went up, he played his game, and I thought he impressed the people. He impressed me. I mean, I can't speak for other people, but talking to other people who are there and beat right for the New York Islanders, I could tell you that they were impressed with his play. And I think that after the season that they have, I would hope that they would look towards younger players and look towards what they had in Bridgeport and what they will have in Hamilton. And I think Isaiah George will probably be a part of that. I think he's absolutely ready to be a fifth or sixth defenseman in the NHL.
Actually, let's see if I can do this quick. Because I took this today while I was down there. Let me just send this to myself. For those that don't know, let's see if I can pull this. I was actually down by the rink today because that's where my job is down by the rink. And I actually took a picture of this down by the rink. So this actually holds 17,500 fans. Now, we probably won't get 17,500. We probably will get, like, if I had to guess, 6,000 fans. But in this little, let's see if I can. Will this be able to? No, that's not what I want to do. I guess I can do it this way. This won't allow me to do it either. What I want to do is this area over here is where the box office is to go and buy your tickets. So any fans that are coming to Hamilton, that's where you go. And to the right of that is actually an underground parking. So obviously you'll have to pay more because it's event parking. But that's where you would go, or across the street there's a little parking area there. But yeah, I just thought, I was down there. I just decided to take a picture of it just to show all the Bridgeport people. But if you are looking for any information, I don't know what Kenny's plans are for the upcoming season, but if you have any questions regarding Bridgeport from this past season, any other questions or anything like that, you can look up at Kenny Kamensky. Also, he does write amazing articles, and I'm not just trying to cherry coat that. Inside the Island of, what'd you call it?
Isles in the Sound.
Oh, Isles in the Sound is what the articles are on X. So if you want to go look up some of his articles, I will leave it in the description below on the YouTube. Also, you'll see it tagged in the over on X, or if you were watching this over on YouTube, you'll be able to, I'll leave some links there. Anything else you want to tell us, Kenny, before I let you go, because I know you are busy, about the team that we should know?
Well, if you're a fan, I know the AHL is very, you can get really close to the players, and I'll tell you that Darsh does an excellent job picking out not just great players, but amazing people. I think I don't know what they're going to do for Hamilton. I know in Bridgeport they had a few events throughout the year where you're able to go and interact with the players, especially if you're a season ticket holder. Definitely take advantage of that if you can, because like I said, these guys are absolutely unbelievable. Some of the funniest people. I've talked to them about hockey, obviously, because that's what they do. But I've had great conversations about other things like Matt Luff and his tattoos, Cole Eiserman and his whatever he was doing for school, Josh Kotai and his dad playing as an American Hockey League e-bug. So that's what I'll say. If you guys are getting season tickets, if you're going to be in Hamilton, you want to go to games, I would try to get to those season ticket holder events because these guys are amazing.
So I will leave it there, but I do appreciate Kenny for coming on and discussing some Bridgeport stuff. I'm sure over the summer he'll have some articles over on X about re-signings. He even does articles about players off the field, I've seen. So do go over there, give him a follow, read his articles, because again, I'm not gonna. Once you read one, you'll put him on notifications so that once he has more articles, you'll get notified and you'll be like, "Okay, I'm going to read that article." So don't forget to do that, and I do appreciate everyone for stopping by. Don't forget, next week on Tuesday is draft lottery night, so we get to find out where the Islanders are going to be drafting in the draft lottery. We'll have coverage on the channel. Points. Last time I said it was like 0.3%, or 3-point-something% chance we can go up to pick 3. 90% chance we're staying at 13, or if someone behind us wins the lottery, we could be bumped down to 14th. But it'll be interesting to see. Off season's just getting started. Come June, trades will be coming, resignings will be coming. And then come July 1st, you'll have all of your free agent signings. You'll even start to see AHL signings. Players will be coming to Hamilton to find houses and all that fun jazz. So do keep an eye out for the content. This is Rick from Hamilton Sports Central. Kenny at Kenny Kaminsky, as I call him, the beat writer and the GOAT from Bridgeport. And have yourself a great rest of your day.